We want to thank you, Father, for allowing us to make it on this holy day. We give you all the glory. We give you all the praise. Let the words that come from our mouth be acceptable in your sight. Let our praise and worship be a sweet aroma unto you. Let everything that we do be pleasing in your sight. We love you, O Lord, and we thank you for keeping us in the midst of problems and troubles of this world. Amen.
Amen.
Psalms 125 is our opening scripture. They that trust in the Lord shall be as Mount Zion, which cannot be removed, but abideth forever. As the mountains are round about Jerusalem, so the Lord is round about his people, from henceforth ever and ever. For the rod of the wicked shall not rest upon the lot of the righteous, lest the righteous put forth their hands unto iniquity. Do good, O Lord, unto those that be good, and to them that are upright in their hearts. As for such as turn aside unto their crooked ways, the Lord will lead them forth with the workers of iniquity, but peace shall be upon Israel. That was our opening scripture on Psalms 125, and we will have our credo, Deuteronomy 6 and 4.
Shemaya Shirella Ahaya. Alahaya Nawa Ahaya Akkad. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our power is one power. Shemaya Shirella Ahaya. Alahaya Nawa Ahaya Akkad. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our power is one power. Shemaya Shirella Ahaya. Alahaya Nawa Ahaya Akkad. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our power is one power.
Our praise and worship.
Abanawa Shabbat Shemayim Kodashaya Shamka Ohaya Malak Waka Babaa Ratizam Kaya Aisha Bahuratizam Kawa Nafanawa laham kaiwa Wasalafnawa Kawabnawa Kasalafnawa Kawabwabinawa Wala'a
son, on the tribe of Judah. I'm asking you to not forget about Israel, the 12 tribes. I know our people can be stubborn sometimes, but forgive us, for we know not. You said in your word that Israel will forever be your chosen. That's what you said. You said in your word that you will let Israel be above every nation. Oh, this is my prayer, Israel to be saved. Oh, this is my prayer, for Israel to make a change. Oh, Father, that you are never forsake us. You said you would never forsake us. If you said in your word that one day you would come and gather us. Oh, this is my prayer, yeah. We pray to be saved. Oh, this is my prayer, oh, yeah, to make a change. Oh, Israel can make you this rap that's coming. Can make you this rap that's coming. Wake up, Israel. The kingdom is at hand. We got some people to save. Oh, Lord. Don't leave us in this. I'm crying out to you. I know our people can be stubborn sometimes. But they don't know. They don't know what they want to do. You said to believe it. You said it all. You bring us back into our land. You said that. You said that you will gather all of your people. Corners of the world. Hey, and you said and take us back to Jerusalem. Israel, and you say you would gather around from all the four corners of the world, the four corners of the world. Time to get some truth, you know. All right. I know the church say they do Sunday, but we don't do it. We keep the Sabbath. You know what I mean? Yes. And all I wanna do is hear the words mine. And the rockets are raining. And I know everything will be alright. It's the best day of the week. When I'm with you, alright. Hey, hey. I just wanna relax on me. Read the Bible to the next day. When the sun goes down, I just wanna get so close to a higher until the next day. When the sun goes down, hey, 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 it's the Sabbath. Time up for all the work, the Most High ain't having it. Most High ain't having it. Bring the higher and just enjoy this rain. You know when we're resting here, it's always the way. That also brings me to give a higher praise. It's open up the bottle of these scriptures all day. I just wanna be like all day. And I need a Bible. Wanna relax the next day. When the sun goes down, I just wanna get so close to a higher until the next day. When the sun goes down, hey, 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 it's the Sabbath. Got a mouth full of all the words the most I ain't having me. Bring it higher and just enjoy his presence. From his presence, no pleasure, man. For Israel, you know what I mean? Where my wife is at? I need to get some words in there. I want to dance for the most high right now. You made enough money for the week. Hey, hey. Yeah. Did that. Enjoy yourself. I'm looking forward to the best. Yeah. It's always the best. Chilling with a high. Always the best. Don't even have to worry about it. Relax to the most high. And meditate on him.
I was lost, I couldn't see it, I was getting on. That everything I told you was to show. Playing hearts instead. Because it made your face feel walking dead. Now we got the nightmares in my bed. I thought I needed freedom in my bed. Oh, to keep control, they kept the flying. To keep control, they kept the slaves. But no more. Cause I'm broken free. From the plantation on this mind, from the plantation in my life, I felt strong, nothing to lose. But these shackles deep inside, no longer help captive in my mind. I'm never going back, no, I'm never going back. I'm never going back, no, I'm never going back. I'm never going back, no, I'm never going back. Never, 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 ever, ever going back. And now I'm complaining, no longer chained. Hated by society, but you love the game. I've got this new fight and it's coming on. Take me down, better than I'm here alone. I'm ready for the freedom that I is needed. Oh, to my enemies, that's why to keep control, I keep you blind. To keep control, I keep you slaves. But no more, no more. Cause I'm broken free. From the plantation on this mind. From the plantation in my life. I'll be strong. And nothing to lose. But these shackles deep inside. No longer help captive in my mind. I'm never going back, no, I'm never going back. I'm never going back, no, I'm never going back. I'm never going back, no, I'm never going back. Never, 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 ever, ever going back. Believe in just what's my mind. I'm leaving all the lies behind. I'm going with the truth this time. I'm
The lights and fire is not the king, but the flesh lusts against the spirit, and the spirit against the flesh. And these are contrary the ones to the other, so that he cannot do the thing that ye would.
It's a long road, trying to make it up in the kingdom. We used to do the blessing till the hill. Forgiveness, now where I'm on my knees praying, giving respect up my demons, trying to get me off, but he got my soul that pin that I'm gonna get my right. No way, man, how they even do not to say you did the deceiver. I'm a believer, got my flesh running hot like a fever. But with the cynical into the way, they keep the demons on my face, they got a perfect sound away. The time is coming to run this road, pass away. The most I got is show respect the evil, this will have to stay. Got it looking down the far, he thought you straight. I do this through my Savior, Messiah Christ. Pave the way.
I try so hard to do this place. Even though you're trying to take my soul, so I pray for heavenly strength. I try so hard to do this place. Even though you're trying to take my soul, so I pray for heavenly strength.
Stop you inside, full of dead bodies, to no tell with bones in the lobby. That's the mindset when you in the flesh and act snobby. What about everybody else? You really need a hobby. I used to march by myself, that I was sloppy. Now I kick it with the brethren like karate. Used to be the meanest carbon copy. Now boxing spirits, call me Rocky. Hold on, stay strong, make sure your soul's on. Call it a spiritual body. It's time to Voltron. It's time to hope you're hearing us coming together, strengthened in the spirit. He's talking vivid. If you got it, give it 2 times. We come to hear it. For those that haven't ear, let them listen. And let's be clear to make him stand here. For the righteous and all my peers, let the weight of the flesh just disappear. Praise the Lord.
I try so hard to do this place. Even though you're trying to take my soul, so I pray for heavenly strength. I try so hard to do this place. Even though you're trying to take my soul, so I pray for heavenly strength.
No flesh, I entered the new king. Spiritual, incorruptible body without sin. They enter the splendor of glory with kind of wits. Witness to the most high in the sight of the Lord. Forgiveness of this world and its lustful ways. Like a hope hurt out of balance in the maze. They said that's all the film with the preservation by the way. In eternal pocket, that makes it so hard to stay. I pray that we all feel like an old man. Or be suffocated and cut off your lifespan. Stand strong against the wickedness, that's the plan. Because the highest kingdom, forever kingdom that we stand. That's why
I try so hard to do this place. Even though you're trying to take my soul, so I pray for heavenly strength. I try so hard to do this place. Even though you're trying to take my soul, so I pray for heavenly strength. I try so hard to do this place. Even though you're trying to take my soul, so I pray for heavenly strength. I try so hard to do this place. Even though you're trying to take my soul, so I pray for heavenly strength.
Matthew 26 and 41. Watch and pray. That ye enter not into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak.
my life. Just walking in the truth, try to keep it right. Giving up these grades and putting it above. Tell me to pop the boot and eat this street, but the demons is they smile. They just let me down and it's your eyes. I could fall my mind straight up on me. But you shit, but the shout, how was that? They come to me out. It's just like I am a party, yeah. All the else is being named, I don't even go to road. I ain't thinking you no more. That's just one of them. I will go straight from here. Push fire. Be patient, provided for my eye. Vision for 50, jumping down to 25. The 50, the 27, the 29. Yeah, 17, John say the mind. 13, Ecclesiastes, how you grind. Gotta keep the lever higher on the mind. Teach a preacher the gospel, the dash is the only kind. Trying to tell you a little bit about my life, yeah. Walking in this truth, trying to keep it right, As I open up this head to show me light, That's why I'm thinking him right now for giving me life, Tell you a little bit about my life, yeah. Just walking in this truth, trying to keep it right, As I open up this head to show me light, That's why I'm thinking him right now for giving me life, I'm just a little bit about my lifestyle. I'm just walking in the truth, keep it right now. The moment I open up the set to show me right now. I'm the fight as long as I just follow right now. If you keep running 20, I'm a question in this war. I know that I'm waking up inside a battle, so I'm sleeping with my soul. I'm a monster, I'm a spirit, is for the name. My whole life, these demons, they're trying to give me the odds of keep me safe. Battling with this sleep paralysis, I'm laughing in my face. But then I got baptized in their water, they knew that I was the same. The prophet of mine, they be mistakes. Taught me how to fast and pray. Give it a shout out to the body, look to a higher being of praise. G-O-C-T, when you see me, pray the spirit never leave me. When I live before the king, I hope he smiles when they see me. I just wanna be a child, hope for worship on the cloud. In my spirit, I'm ice, and I be knocking in the line. About my life, yeah. Just walking in the street, trying to keep it right, As I open up this head and show me light, That's why I'm thanking him right now for giving me life, Tell you a little bit about my life, yeah. Just walking in the street, trying to keep it right, As I open up this head and show me light, That's why I'm thanking him right now for giving me life, I can't be this mad at people because I know it was true. Don't be mad at me because your father said it pretty good. I get stuck up in the loop and the earth will take you prison. Like if you put the father hating the ditch, I'm hating the no attention. That make me no longer mention. Now focus back on the mission. It's like it's second division. That shows that shit to be geek or better yet to be gotten. That over 19 was popping, working out on the clock. All the time, just no stopping. And the time it is perfect. The conviction of with you, revelation words. If I let it give a permission to go to the world, the prison that brought up. Think my brother, how am I to go? Better be wrong, you said, Get this hands to the body, the flyers to the care, package to body. But I see ya, it's over the race with bottom man. Walking in the street, you gotta remember, put on the stand. Keep on raising to the most I suffer in the face with plans. Say you do the beat about my life, Let's start. Now, it's your up, do your shot, my young, all day, with a high at the hill.
That's right.
The bird in which Habakkuk the prophet did see. O Lord, how long shall I cry, and thou wilt not hear? Even cry out into the of violence, and wilt thou not save? Why dost thou shew me iniquity, and cause me to behold grievance? For spoiling and violence are before me, and there are that raise up strife and contention. Therefore the law is slacked, and judgment doth never go forth. For the wicked doth compass about the righteousness, therefore wrong judgment proceedeth. So we want to give all honor to Ahia, Yeshaya, and the Holy Spirit. Peace to the 12 tribes that are scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. Shalom to those who are not of Israel, but because they have the surname, Israel, they are Israelites. This is a new revelation. This is a new revelation, and we try to make these lessons as interactive as possible. You can place your questions or comments in the chat. We will read those online and answer them online. Those that we can't answer online, or those that we don't have the answer for, we will research and get back because we don't have the answers to everything, because we don't know everything. But Yeshaya knows, right?
Yes, it does.
So, with that being said, Stockholm Syndrome. Stockholm, black people enter the slave mind. Stockholm Syndrome. A lot of us, in fact, 95% of those, even those who say they are in the truth, you are still in that Stockholm Syndrome. Stockholm's, we'll get the definition of that later. We must break free from that Stockholm Syndrome that we are in. Loving your captives. And some of us who say in Israel, well, I don't love my captive. But yet and still, you do. Unbeknownst to you, you still operate as if you are on the plantation. So, we're going to get to our announcements. The Memorial of Trumpets is the 12th, along with the Fall Holy Day. The Day of Atonement is the 21st through the 22nd. Feast of Tabernacles is the 26th through the 3rd. On October 4th is the 8th day feast. And our lessons for Friday, starting the fall as of right now, the fruits of the Spirit. Our language classes will resume next Shabbat at noon. Our language classes and our Bible studies will resume Thursday nights at 9 p.m. So our service times will be Thursday at 9, Friday at 9, the Shabbat at noon, and then our main teaching at 2. When the fall comes, then the Shabbat language class will be 11, and our Shabbat lesson will be at 1. Because we always go back an hour for the fall, okay? Because the sun goes down quicker in the winter, right? All right, let's get to today's lesson. Christianity. Christianity is an infection of Stockholm Syndrome. From the time we stepped off the boat, we were, and in fact, the truth be told, when we first stepped off of the boat, there was a certain group of people to meet us, and they were called Christians. Immediately coming off the boat, we were injected or infected with their doctrine, their God that they worship. We long forgot about the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. In Africa, we long forgot about that. We kept the holy days and not like we were supposed to keep the holy days, because we called them something else in Africa. But we tried to do the best that we can, I assume, but we were so mixed up. Like the tribe of Gad had so many gods, and we in Africa had so many gods that we forgot about the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We still had little hold-ons of what our heritage was. But remember, as we've been saying, since Mother has changed the curriculum for the summer, there's 3 things that dictate you having a heritage: land, language, and what? Somebody can tell me. Can somebody tell me the third one? It was land, it was language, and what was the third one?
Heritage.
No, it's 3 L's. One was land, one was language. All right, well, we can get to it later. Maybe you
I just
remember.
read it. I know I forgot it.
Right? Our heritage was lost. In Africa, we did not have our land. We still had our language. We still spoke in the Hebrew dialect. Stockholm Syndrome, a psychological phenomenon in which hostages expressed empathy and have positive feelings towards their captors, sometimes to the point of defending them. To the point of defending them.
Mm-hmm.
So, Stockholm Syndrome, and how does that associate with the 12 tribes today? We're going to see about that. The majority of us are still in that Stockholm Syndrome. Hopefully, we can break free from that phenomenon, as they call it. Right? Jeremiah 2:14 says, "Is Israel a servant? Is he a home-born slave? Why is he spoiled?" Is he a servant? Is he a homeborn slave? Some of the acts about Stockholm Syndrome, and we'll see if they apply to the 12 tribes today. The first one is the bonding between the captive and the captor is survival mechanism for the victim. We can put a big check. Bonding between the captive and the captor.
Mm-hmm.
Survival. The victim goes into a survival mechanism. That's still going on today. Later on, we're going to show you how that is going on today. The hostage is abused physically or verbally by the captors. Check. That's still going on today. Another thing with Stockholm Syndrome, it is believed the syndrome happens when the hostage mistakes the act of captor, of not killing or abusing them, as an act of kindness. Check. And we can look to that one no further than Black Lives Matter. The hostage mistakes the captor of not killing them as an act of kindness. An act of kindness. Sure, we'll let you protest wherever you want to protest. Yes, we'll take down the Confederate statues, and yes, we'll take down the Confederate flag, and Yes, it is. Our sports teams' names need to be changed. Yes, we can do all that. They are still the captors. And because they're not physically killing you or abusing you with those names and with the things that they say and how they do things, you think it's an act of kindness. Yes, we finally are getting what we want. Woefully ignorant. The next one, family or loved ones threatened if they didn't do what they were told. Check. That's still going on today. Denial to information and resources. Big check. Big check. And that's a shame because the Bible is sitting right there in front of you. One of the best resources there is. Big check. Came up with a new syndrome. This is not in the DSM or anything like that. It's called post-traumatic slave syndrome or PTSS. Yes, a new revelation just came up with a new mental illness. Post-traumatic slave syndrome. That's a condition where the mental trauma is being here in Babylon and has turned the mind of otherwise a strong black man or a black woman into something even Yeshaya marvels at.
Mm.
And when I say he marvels at it, it's not in a good way. You shut, you jive, you shuffle your feet, you look down at your captors, and I don't mean look down like, oh, they're bad. You look down in submission. You would rather, and I know my wife used to say, why you do that? When I start to minister to our people, I would get my phone and get a picture of a white man and sit it right there.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until I explained to her what I was doing, she understood. Because if it comes from me, no one would listen.
Nope.
But you listen to your teachers, you listen to the people on the job, you listen to the world.
Some people
That's a
listen to the
sign
devil.
of PTSS.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not even bringing the devil into this. Not now. But you listen to your oppressor. You listen to those who bind you up. We had a discussion this morning, and I'm telling you, if I hear this again, I'm just going to flip. Babies should not drink water. Who told you that? Your captors told you that. Why is that? When water is one of the most nutrient things on this earth. But yet and still, they'll tell you, don't give your baby water. They'll have water toxic syndrome and all this other madness that goes on. Well, let me say this. Anyone who is in the truth and they deny their child water, you have PTSS and you need to be delivered. Our people did not neglect water from children. That is the most dumbest asinine thing that I have ever heard in my life.
Yeah, they were saying how babies can get sick or diseases if you give them water.
How can you get sick from water?
Well, I guess that they put some in it.
PTSS.
I don't know. I gave our children water and nothing happened to them.
PTSS.
Because I came home from the hospital saying that too. And my grandmother said, girl, are you crazy? You better give that baby some water.
Mm-hmm. PTSS. You believe what the captors say. You go online and you look up certain things, And you believe what the captors say, but never once do you open up your Bible to try to find out the answer.
Because it's in there.
Never once.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this researcher said this, and this guy on this video says that. No, it's time to stop. I told you, the majority of our people still have that slave mentality. Some of you may be offended by this lesson, but you know what? My mission is to not gain a large following, but my mission and the mission of this ministry is to wake up the lost sheep. Because we are so lost. So lost. If you don't want to hear the rest of this teaching, it's best not to watch, because we're going to go into some things. And these things, I can guarantee at least one of them, at least one, everybody operates in. So it's not where no one is operating in the slave in PTSS. There's going to be at least one thing that you do that you're still with PTSS. At least. If there's several, repent. We're going to see. And then we're going to see what actions are you going to take after you have found out that you're still operating under PTSS, post-traumatic slave syndrome. What actions are you going to take once you find out, hey, I do that, to get your mind unshackled? The mind is so gummed up by doctrines, 400 years of indoctrinating the truth that was blocked off from us. Unable to think for yourself. You need to go to their schools to assist you to think for yourself. That is a slave mentality. Our people, and I mean the 12 tribes, have the capabilities of doing it ourselves. I said last week that the civil rights movement was the worst thing that could have happened to our people. And I still hold those truths self-evident. That that thing that they did started in the 1950s. We want to be equal. We want to share. We want to do this. We want to do that. No, you want it to be like your captives. You wanted the piece of the American pie. And let me say, that pie is spoiled. That pie is rotten to the core.
It was white pies only.
Right.
White people pies.
You don't want that. We're going to see something later on in this lesson too. You think like your oppressor. You want to look like your oppressor.
Mm-hmm.
You want to speak like your oppressor. But yet and still, your oppressor is the one who is killing you spiritually and physically, day by day by day. They're separating you from your God. People cling to his story. Which is the European story of lies. Going back as far as when it was put to the belief that the Messiah in the Bible was white, when nowhere in the Bible it says that. But you were told not to do something. You were told not to do something. A destroyed mind will mimic what their master has planted in their head and say, why does color matter? Why does it matter what color he is? That doesn't matter. And the majority of people today are destroyed. Their minds are destroyed because you want to be so much like the captors and so much like the master. See, we joke about Uncle Tom, but let me tell you something. There's a bunch of Uncle Toms running around. Some of them wear fringes. Some of them call on Yeshua. But until they break free from that slave mentality and that slave mindset, PTSS is going to continue. And if you do not break free, when you get to the wilderness, because you're dependent on your captors now. So when you are pulled and called to the wilderness, your captors are not going to be there. Who are you going to lean on then? Because this elder said that, and that offended me. But Mr. PhD, blonde hair, blue eyed, says this. And I'm going to harp on what he says. Because he's better than that uneducated, did not go to seminary school, elder Israelite. It's time to wake up.
Spend time.
Psalm 17:8 says, keep me as the apple of thy eye. Hide me under the shadow of thy wings.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we have to hide under the shadow of Yeshua's wings. And when it says hide under the shadow, it doesn't mean cower. It means stay under the protection of Yeshua. You still can speak boldly about the word, still can speak boldly about not being a captive, and still hide under Yeshua's wings. So not understanding their condition was created, your condition, PTSS, by enforcing ideas that they are less than nothing.
Pretty much.
How many times have you heard, you're a minority? If you continue to tell someone, you're a minority, then what would you think they would think? I'm a minority. They're the majority. When in fact, when you actually do the math, we are the majority.
We can even go from the promise that was given to Abraham, that his seed would be, as the sand, as the stars, as. So we know that that's a lie, that we are not the minority.
Correct.
And that was told from, thousands of years ago?
Now I'm speaking as far as people. I'm not talking about those who are serving. Because if you're serving Yeshua, yes, you are in the minority. Yes, you are. But not how they put majority and minority. They put minority in there to make you feel inferior.
Less than.
That's why. And they still do it today. They still call our people, the 12 tribes, minorities.
Yes.
See what I mean when I say that we are still operating in the slave mentality?
Before we came into ministry or the truth, when I would hear the word minority, I will always associate it with low class, less than, destitute, always need help. poverty. It was something always, it was always bad.
Exactly.
Like you feel like you're nothing, and no matter what you try to do, you will never be able to um, achieve anything. That's and living in a growing up in a ghetto, seeing that because everybody had that PTSS. That's what you saw. That's what you thought because that's what you saw. And you had people going to work. You had some people had 2 and 3 jobs, and they still couldn't make it.
Still couldn't make it.
So you still think that this is just how it's gonna be.
Right.
And that's not
And
true.
also, remember Christianity, because the greatest man who supposedly walked this earth looked just like them. Looked just like them. So if you are being told you are a minority, always, and you are being told that the higher power is a majority, is a person who looks like the majority, you're gonna feel like I just can't make it.
Just can't do it, no matter how I try. We used to say it.
I just can't make it.
You work 2 jobs, I work one, full time, and really we couldn't make it. We didn't know we were cursed because we was not serving the Most High. We was going by you're the minority. You're gonna live in a hood. You're gonna always be down and out, no matter what you do. Nothing will ever work. And and I'm gonna be honest, because I have seen it in my family. A lot of our men, like I know Judah men, they would give up.
They would give up.
They would. You have a brother trying to work and do right. Next thing you know, they be like, forget this job. They be on the street selling drugs, just doing just crazy stuff because they get tired, they get wore out because there was never any answers for what they were going through. You know, it was not the right answers. It was always the answers they were given. You know, you're a minority.
Probably, I know you young people may not remember the show Good Times, but there was a certain scene with the TV show Good Times. Those of us who are older, you know where I'm about to go. And they lived in the projects, Cabrini Green, believe it or not, in Chicago, which I don't think is there anymore. But they lived in one of the worst projects in the city of Chicago. And there was a certain show that they had. Michael, the little boy, painted a depiction of, quote unquote, Jesus being black.
No, I think JJ painted.
Oh, JJ, not Michael.
Yeah.
Right. Michael wanted to hang it up because he's the black militant of the family. So the mother says, and pointed to Caesar Borgia, this is the only Jesus I know. I don't know of any other Jesus, and this one is going to stay on the wall. Of course, the show twisted it, and when JJ painted the picture, it was of a wino. That shows, see, that's Holly weird at its best. But we didn't catch on to it then because we were laughing because we thought it was funny. How can you, as a nation, do anything when they even tell you that the one true, genuine God is against you?
They said that picture looked like Ned the Wino.
Correct.
But I find it kind of strange that some of our Israelite brothers are preaching that Yeshua's eyes was red because of wine.
That's part of the PTSS.
Like, whoa.
Deuteronomy 32:10 says, he found him in a desert land, and in the waste howling wilderness. He led him about, he instructed him, he kept him as the apple of his eye. The apple of his eye. Let's get another example. Tell me the last time when you heard another nation call their women a bitch or a whore. Tell me the last time you heard a China man call his wife or call his woman or call any woman a bitch or a whore.
I have never heard that.
Tell me the last time that you heard a German call one of their women a bitch or a whore. Not only that, but women have been so adapted that they are not only okay with it, but they embrace it by calling themselves bitches and whores. You can't tell me the last time outside of Judah, outside of Issachar, outside of Manasseh. When was the last time you saw Japhet or even Hamites call their woman a bitch or a whore?
I haven't.
I've never heard that, no. Now they called us that, but
they would never do that. They would never do that. But we freely do it.
You got our women, they be having them on their license plates, and they call themselves a boss.
or bad.
Bad, yeah.
Man, that's part of the mindset. That's part of the mindset.
But a lot of those reality TV shows with our women, the Judah women on there, they will say they can be friends. Like instead of saying this is my best friend, they'd be like, this is my B over here. We ride together, and they'd be like, yeah, yeah. Like, she just called you. What? But they think it's a good thing,
Right. And it's not.
That mentality.
Everybody's going to go to Leviticus, the 13th chapter. How about our men wearing skirts?
Oh, man.
And now our women bonding their hair to look like their old slave masters. All 12 tribes suffer in one shape or form. But again, there's a solution. And that solution has been here all along. When I said women bonding their hair, putting chemicals in their hair to look like their old slave masters. Leviticus 13 and 29. Yes, before we get those scriptures.
I was going to say that we were going in a store on yesterday, and there was like 4-5 Judah women. I don't know if you noticed them, but every last one of them had bleached their hair blonde.
Mm-hmm.
One of them was a little girl, and they were dark Judah.
Mm-hmm.
And their hair was like, it was blonde, and I'm like, and I'm looking, and I'm like, that don't even look right.
Mm-hmm.
Not only is it dangerous, it can cause permanent hair loss, but you're teaching this little girl
that she's worthless.
You're teaching her to hate who Yeshaya looked on her soul, her spirit, and he chose her makeup special, her hair color, her eyes, her skin tone. He personally, because we're not just made like a factory, he take his time with each and every one of us. He made us to look how he wanted us to be, and it was beautiful. He said when he made man in his image, he said it was what? In Genesis.
It was good.
It was good. So they teaching this young girl, she was no more than 12 or 13 with blonde hair, Judah girl. And I'm like, that girl, it was kind of a nice length if it wasn't weave. But the thing about it is that when she can't get that hair bleached, she gonna be like, this ugly. Like she gonna end up with self-hatred. It's bad. The mothers are messing up the daughters.
We're going to see about something else, more ways than one. Leviticus 13, starting at verse 29. If a man or a woman have a plague upon the head or the beard, then the priest shall see the plague, and behold, if it be in sight deeper than the skin, and there be in it a yellowing thin hair,
There you go.
then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a dry scale, even a leprosy upon the head or beard. Now, yellow hair.
That's what it looked like, yeah.
The priest will call that a plague. And let's not talk about sickness, we're talking spiritual. It's a spiritual plague. Our brothers dyeing their beards blonde, dyeing their hair blonde or any other
Red,
color.
yeah.
The women dyeing their hair. It's a plague. And what is that plague? PTSS. Verse 31. And if the priest look on the plague of the scale, and behold, it be not in sight deeper than the skin, and that there is no black hair in it, then the priest shall shut him up that hath the plague of the skull 7 days. Notice it says there's no black hair in it. It's a plague. You don't know who you are. 32. And in the 7th day the priest shall look on the plague, and behold, if the skull spread not, and there be in it no yellow hair, and the skull be not in sight deeper than the skin, he shall be shaven, but the skull shall he not shave, and the priest shall shut him up that hath the skull 7 days more. So what do our people need to do? They need to get rid of that blonde hair. Get rid of that colored hair. Because our people just lost their minds with the different colors of the rainbow just flowing through their hair. Purples and greens and blues, and it's a travesty. Verse 34, and in the 7th day, the priest shall look on the skull, and behold, if the skull be not spread in the skin, nor be in the sight deeper than the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him clean. He shall wash his clothes and be clean. But if the skull spread much in the skin after his cleansing, then the priest shall look on him, and behold, if the skull be spread in the skin, the priest shall not seek for yellow hair, he is unclean. So where are these elders at that are telling these people, stopping them and saying, do you know that in the Bible, your blonde hair is a curse? Now, of course, you want the Holy Spirit to be there with you, because I'm sure our sisters who have blonde hair, they also have very long nails. And they will do the Edward Scissorhand on you. You got to have your sword. You must be protected.
No, we
But
first
something has to be said.
when we first came into the truth, I had blonde highlights in my hair, and I had a relaxer,
Mm-hmm.
and we read this scripture, and I remember that's the first time I cut all my hair off. I had to get rid of it.
Right, because this scripture will not be read in a Christian church.
No, that's why I had the highlights and the makeup and stuff in the Christian church. And I would go to church and they would tell me how beautiful my hair was.
Right, because they were under PTSS also.
So I had to cut it all off.
Verse 37 says, "But if the skull be in his sight at a stay, and that there is black hair grown up therein, the skull is healed. He is clean, and the priest shall pronounce him clean." The really Lynch letters really did a number on our people.
Yeah. Ooh.
And those letters affect the future opportunities of any type of advancement that we think we may have.
Mm-hmm.
They are left to build from the ruins from their forefathers. They left, and in most cases, there was nothing in terms of legacy. Nothing. Nothing. Stockholm Hebrews, or PTSS, is real. And it's not a joke by any means necessary. We were never, think of this for a second. After slavery, there was no psychological mind change. There was nothing.
No counseling.
There was no counseling. There wasn't anything. So even after we were supposedly set free from the chains and the shackles, there was chattel slavery. There were the black code. Sorry. There was the Willie Lynch letter. There was other things after slavery. There was the whole 40 acre and the mule, which never happened. Mind warfare. Here's the thing, we were not always like this, though. We weren't. We were not selfish. We were not greedy. We had remorse for each other. We were not reprobates. In the Old Testament, we had our evil times, but it wasn't on this level. It wasn't. We still had some type of respect for each other. We still had some type of remorse for each other. Yes, we were conglomerately doing it all at the same with each other. But back in those days, there was no such thing as the crime against each other like it is now. There is no way that a man of the Most High, or a man, period, back in those days, would ever insult a woman. Never. It was very, very rare. If you remember the Pharisees, that was not all Israel. There were some Edomites in the Pharisees' faction when they threw the woman to Yeshua and said, "This is an adulterer." Remember that.
Mm-hmm.
1 Peter 2:9 says, "But ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a peculiar people, that we should show forth the praises of him who have called you out of darkness into his marvelous light."
You know, when I was growing up, if a guy was really bold to call a woman that, the other guys around be like, "Hey, man, that's a female. You don't talk to her like
Right.
that."
Mm-hmm.
You had someone that will stand up. I saw a YouTube video where this girl was walking, this Judah girl, and it was like 4 or 5 Judah guys. They just picked her up and threw her in a garbage can like she was nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And when she got out the garbage can, they started walking, tripping her, pushing her down on the ground. And there was like 4 or 5 Judah guys doing this to this little Judah girl.
Mm-hmm. But
They
we
was,
get upset if the police would have rolled up and do something. We get upset and angry then.
you know, that probably messed that woman up for life.
Mm-hmm.
They threw her in the dumpster. They don't know. It could have been glass, needles, anything in there. She finally climbed out. She started walking. Her friend ran off and laughed because I guess she didn't want to get thrown in
Mm-hmm.
as well. But they was laughing and calling her the B word, saying she was ugly, tripped her, pushed her down on the ground. And she was no more than maybe 18, 19 years old.
Mm-hmm.
There's no telling. That's some self-hatred there. She is ruined. And it was our men, the Judah men, did that to a Judah girl.
Mm-hmm. They do a lot of things. Our men do a lot of things. Where did it come from, though? We're going to see that.
Mm.
We have
Jackson.
disassociated ourselves with the royal priesthood that we used to claim. We used to claim that we are a royal priesthood. And now we've given the excuse that we are Gentiles, we are heathens. Now we have accepted that we were Gentiles. Who taught you that? Who told you? And we're going to look at a certain individual. Who told you that? And what was he under?
Mm.
We are taught that this behavior from our oppressors, we have been brought down low to his level. And we're going to prove it out of the Bible. We're going to prove it. Babylon created the Negro. Babylon created the coon.
Mm-hmm.
Babylon created the spick. Babylon created all that. Now, this invention shortly was created when we got off the boats in 1619. When we first got off those boats, we were united. We were united. And that's one thing that's never spoken about. When we were on the boats and when we first got off the boats, those first few years after 1619, we were united. We were not separate.
Families was
We
made.
we were all part of different tribes and different dialects, but we still had a
Spiritual, yeah.
connection.
People bonded.
And your captors saw that.
Mm-hmm.
They saw that. The slave owners decided to go through a rigorous, methodical, wicked breaking process. Now, this was long before Willie Lynch. Long before Willie Lynch. A breaking process because, wait, we can't have them bind up together. If they are bound together, then they may overtake us. See, the fear was still there and is still there to this day.
Even in Egypt.
If they call on their God, it's over for us.
Mm-hmm.
So let's show them who their God really is in the form of one of us. They knew full well who they took from the west coast of Africa. They knew who well they took, and they surely wasn't going to take any dummies.
Yeah.
They did not take the bone in the nose, spear chugging, dung pillow making Hamites.
Nope.
They did not take them. They stole, but the true Israelites of the Bible, fulfilling the prophecy in Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter. Who bought and sold you? Who bought and sold you, and why? Short list of nations: the Africans, the Hamites, Edom, Idumeans, Esau or Amalek, and also the Khazars, the Ashkenazis. Short list of nations that benefited off of our chattel labors. Now, it's not to go and be hatred and start committing atrocities against them. Then you're no better than they are. We're going to read an excerpt out of Babylon to Timbuktu. This is how I know who they got. In the Jewish, and this is Babylon to Timbuktu. This excerpt is on page 90. The Jewish Gahanian states were found kings, princes, governors, generals, secretaries, treasurers, revenue agents, judges, architects, engineers, doctors, historians, language interpreters, mathematicians, jewelers, sculptors, masons, carpenters, painters of art, goldsmiths, leather workers, potters, armorers, sattlers, blacksmiths, agriculturalists, and much, much more. Think of it for a second. If we got here and we were not taught anything, how did we know how to do the work that needed to be done? How did we know on how to birth children if we got here and we weren't taught anything? How did we know all this? How do we know cures of certain illnesses when we got here? We weren't taught. They told you, you will not learn, you will just work.
You know,
they did not get the dummies.
No, and when they brought the women over, our women over from slavery, our women took care of their children. When their children was sick with diseases, it was our women that went and nursed them and took care of them and used different, um, what I want to say, like home remedies, like natural things to nurse them back because they didn't know how.
We're in a society of gifted, God-favored Israelites that on the outside look like Africans. But we only just lived in the land. We never claimed Africa as our home. Never. But times changed. We were not them, and they knew that we were not them.
We didn't
They
operate.
hated and despised us for the blessings that we had. They hated us since we fled. but from the Romans in 70 AD. They hated us. We ran into Africa to blend in, to look like them, to escape the Roman persecution. But all along, they knew it. And all along, it went all the way back to Ham.
We didn't perform. Our characteristics was not like theirs. And like you were saying with slavery, they didn't just go and take random people. They just didn't see somebody walking and say, hey, snatch, snatch. They knew who they were going to get. They knew whether it was the young and the fit. They knew if they were warriors. Some of them was, prince and kings, and they knew who they were getting.
So the dictation of the movie Roots in the very beginning, that was a lie. They weren't just running and just grabbing any old body. They systematically went to the Hamites and said, who among them fit the bill of one of these? Who is it? The Hamites knew. And you know what?
Yeah, they knew.
Certain of our kings knew also.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And you know how in the first deportation in Babylon, they took the scholars, they took everybody that was smart and had wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
So, and there's nothing new under the sun. Of course, they end up doing it again.
Right.
But I was reading in Exodus, I don't know if it was 30 or 29, 30, 31. And it was when they were getting ready to build the Ark of the Covenant. And as the scripture said that Judah was chosen, and Judah was given the wisdom, the knowledge, and I forgot what else it said. The understanding on how to work what? Gold, wood, different things like that. So this is something that, these are, I don't want to say talents, but I mean, like what it was, this is what the Father put in us when we were created. We were given certain things. He gives us wisdom and understanding and knowledge to do certain things.
Mm-hmm.
Don't think that before they came, before the slave, before it happened, they had a plan. They had a plan because guess what? They needed somebody to build their houses. They needed somebody to do their crops. They had a plan already. They had it mapped out on what they wanted, how they wanted, and they chose the people. They tried the other people before that didn't work.
Well, they went to Gad and they tried to enslave Gad, but that didn't work out so well. Gad knew the land. Gad knew how to escape. Gad would fight. Gad would sit in and starve themselves to death. And the European settlers said, this is not working. Because these people, it's not working. We just killing them off, and they refuse to work. But then they remembered the Trans-Arabia slave trade or Trans-Arab slave trade. Let's get from Africa. They started colonizing in Africa and then started pulling slaves from Africa. Colonization happened before the slave trade.
Mm-hmm.
When Europe started taking countries and saying, this is our colony, that's our colony. That was in the 1500s. 1619, the first slaves embarked off the boat. Luke 21:20 says, and when ye see, and when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. You see God's blessing on us to this day. Anything that we set our mind to, we dominate. Anything. Take Israel out of this world will be destroyed. Sports, writing, arts, cooking, whatever it is, whatever we apply our God-given talent to. But even for all this, we don't consider who we are. We don't consider it. Now, when they got done with our skillful workers and our scholars, they murdered the first set of men and raped many of our women to brainwash them so that they can train up this next generation with lies. So the first ones that came off the boat were sacrifices. The majority of them, after they worked for a while and after they saw that these people they have solidarity. The Christians would be at the boat. The Christians weren't at the boat at 1619. That happened after the fact. That was part of their indoctrination. But when they saw that we were together and we were united and we started to fight back, they started killing our people in front of our people, raping our women in front of everybody, brainwashing them. And when you see it, when a little child sees that it's
She screamed.
by so-called Esau man, two things are going to happen. Either that young child is going to buck up and submit, or they're going to buck up and fight.
Anger.
And a lot of them submitted.
That's why a lot of our men are passive to this day, because it was like carried down.
We have never been through any type of psychological breaking off the physical and spiritual chains of slavery. Never. With the help of Christianity and Willie Lynch, the process of having PTSS had begun. Christianity and Willie Lynch went hand in hand with each other. Let's not forget about Jim Crow laws.
Oh, man.
Jim Crow laws created the modern day nigger or the American. You know that one that protects the massa with his own life? If you're watching this and you can understand what is in front of your eyes, then you have seen this evolution, and this evolution was prophesied. Jeremiah 17:4. And thou even thyself shalt discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee. And I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not. For ye have kindled a fire in mine anger, which shall burn forever. The Most High gave us a divine heritage that was for us owned, ironclad, bound contract to rule the earth. But we did not want to rule the earth. We wanted to follow other pagan gods. We didn't want to serve the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob anymore. heritage is everything. That the brothers and sisters in our current condition and some of the reasons we see no light at the end of this tunnel. Remember I said earlier, and I asked earlier, 3 things that make a nation. 3 things. Land. We lost Jerusalem. And we won't be getting that back until Yeshua comes back. This proves that we, the people, that the people that are there are not Israelites. Land. Language. We used to speak our Hebrew language. But now we speak the language of our slave oppressors. English, Spanish, Portuguese, whatever you want to call it, we speak their language. Without this important link, because our language is our DNA. China, you can know and tell a person from China because their language. You can tell a person from India because of their language. You can tell a person from the Netherlands because of their language. Their language is tied to their DNA. What about our DNA? The laws. This is the pivotal necessity of society. And it was stolen from us in 70 AD. Then our slave masters got it and they perverted the verses and would not allow us to read our very own book. And today we are a lawless people. But we're not a lawless people because of the fact that we're just cruel, evil people. This was done by design. This was done by design. The first thing our slave masters did was to kill the link to our heritage. And as soon as we set foot on the plantations, PTSS was alive, and it went from the past to the future, and it still is alive. The symptoms were never fixed. And if the heathen have their way, they will never be fixed. Never. The symptoms were never fixed. And we're going to go through the symptoms later on. They were never fixed. We had nothing to hold on. Nothing. But they gave you the illusion of Esau Jesus. Or they gave you the illusion that America, the country, will save you. Or that somehow Esau would stop murdering us in the streets. Protest for what? To show that you got a big mouth? That's all it is. Because Esau is going to do what Esau does. The times of the Gentiles have not been fulfilled yet. So Esau is going to continue to do what he has been doing for the past 400 years. And if we really think about it, with the Hamites, we have been enslaved since 700 AD. 700 AD. We have been enslaved since then. A lot of our strong leaders, just like our ancestors in the Bible, are not like our ancestors in the Bible, excuse me. They have sold out. They run scared. They don't want to shake the boat and tell the truth, or they're going to lose their position. It's nothing new. Even the Pharisees wanted to kill Yeshua for envy and jealousy. There's nothing new. There's plenty of blame to go around because we did our share of wickedness, but we didn't get off the boat shooting each other. We didn't get off the boat calling our women bitches and hoes. We did not get off the boat selling drugs to one another. We did not get off the boat looking, oh, you got a better title than me? I'm going to get a better title than you. We didn't get off the boat doing that. We didn't get off the boat saying, Yasa Masa, we's got a good house. We didn't get off the boat saying that. We got off the boat saying, how can we get back? Mm-hmm. What can we do to be together and to fight? That's how we got off the boat. Traits of the Hebrews under Stockholm syndrome. Let's look at some of these traits and see if we are operating in these traits. We're going to break down the generational habit of self-destruction. And the first one is selfishness and rebellion from the beginning. 1 Samuel 15:23, for rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft, and stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry. Because thou hast rejected the word of the Lord, he have also rejected thee from being king. We are still suffering the same sins as our forefathers. We fight the exact same curses that our forefathers fought. Another, to identify who we are in these last days, we figure out some of these traits that were handed down. You see, these traits were handed down. Saul was so jealous of David, he tried to kill him no less than 4 times. It's unfortunately a part of us. We are a stiff-necked people. We didn't listen to the prophets then, and we surely don't listen to them now. The Bible says stubbornness is the same as idolatry. We don't listen. It's like a child that won't take heed, that a righteous parent is telling them to do something for their benefit, but they don't want to do it. Saul was like this. Yeshua gave him a mission, but Saul didn't want to do it. Saul didn't want to do it Yeshua's way. Saul found a way to do it his own way. And then he blamed his choices that he did on the people. Never took ownership. Doesn't that sound like us today? Doesn't take ownership for anything that he did wrong. Yeshua gave him a blueprint, and he said, well, you know what? My way is better. Yeshua is not dumb or crazy. He says what he means, and he doesn't want us to do things our own way. A few examples on how we are into idolatry right now. We still haven't learned our lesson. Go to Leviticus 19. And we're going to read verses 17 and 18. We still have not learned our lesson. Rebellion. Leviticus 19, we're going to read verses 17 and 18. Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor and not suffer sin upon him. Verse 18, thou shalt not avenge, nor bear any grudge against the people, against the children of thy people, but thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. I am the Lord. You're not supposed to do. You're not supposed to envy anyone. You're not supposed to hate. You're not supposed to covet in the name of greed. You're not supposed to kill because of the shoes of their feet and the clothes of their back.
Mm.
That's what our people did in the 80s and in the 90s.
When them Jordans first came out,
People were killing people over a pair of shoes.
so many young black men lost their lives for those
Because
Jordans.
it had a little S on the sleeve. People would get murdered for it. You didn't hand it over clean, you would got shot
And they would take your shoes off while you lay there
while you
dying.
lay there dying. And I've seen it. On the way home, on the bus from school, this guy had on a starter jacket and a pair of Jordans. And they grabbed him. 3 boys, men, whatever they are, grabbed him, dragged him off the bus off the back of the bus. And one of them stabbed him, took off his jacket. The other grabbed his shoes and ran off and left. And you know what the bus driver did? Closed the door,
Kept going.
kept going.
But that happened to my brother. I think he was like 13. And his father bought him some Jordans. And he was on a train. It's in the wintertime. They beat him up, blacked his eye, everything, and took his shoes in the wintertime. And another time when I was in high school, I was getting out the front of the bus. The guy was getting out the back of the bus. They shot him, drug him out the bus, took his shoes. Another thing they were stealing too. Remember those Eddie Bauer bags?
Right.
They were Eddie Bauer. They were some kind of
It was leather.
leather bag. Yeah, it was crazy. They were just taking. They was just. And they didn't care. Like, why did they need that bag? It's not like they were gonna have books in it to read.
Right.
Like, it was crazy.
It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. And even then, I was like, this is crazy. I was so afraid that I never ever got a starter jacket. And I did not own my first pair of Jordans until I was an adult.
Well, your mama wasn't gonna buy you no $100.
No, she was going to do that anyway.
But the other coats, they had like the cartoon character coat.
Right,
Remember
that
those?
stuff, yeah. I didn't want that because I just thought that was just stupid.
It was so many colors on that coat. It was
Why would I want to wear Bugs Bunny on my coat?
Yeah, it was coats like that.
Well, I didn't understand that one.
Mm-hmm.
But the sports teams, right? Your neighborhood is not of these nations. It's blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans. Your neighborhoods. Yeshaya calls this commandment in Leviticus the second most important commandment when he quoted from the New Testament. But yet we have no love for our own. No other nation on this planet kills each other like we kill each other. Look at it. Examine it. Look at the people in Japan. Right against each other. Look at the people in Russia. No, let's not speak about that.
You remember
Because the Russian mob is really
some years ago? I believe these people was Judah. They were saying they was Africans, but remember they were like
Mark Southern.
they were walking. They was hacking people. Remember,
Mm-hmm.
people was afraid to go out. I don't know what part of Africa that was.
Oh,
But
that
people
was
had
during
machete.
that was during like probably Civil War. There was a few countries in Africa that had civil war where,
They had machetes.
yeah, and it was due to certain certain countries had what is called Islam, Muslims, and these black Muslims would go and they would try to overthrow the government, and sometimes it worked. A few of those fashions, it did work.
But they were really Judah.
They were all Judah.
Huh?
They were all Judah.
And they
Hamites didn't do this. Those movies that you see, like Tears of the Sun, and movies like that, that depict black warlords with military, that was never Ham. That was always Judah. Ham would never do anything like that. When Ham was eating other people, Ham was not eating Hamites.
Nope.
They were eating us.
Yep.
They were eating us.
Like people, you could just walk down the street and somebody have a machete and just hack your arm off. You walk by and they be like, and you just like.
No, you're dead.
And it was two women fight. It was two women fighting over a man, and they had machetes. They was just hacking each other, cutting each other up. I'm like, what is wrong with these people?
Mm-hmm.
I would have went outside if I lived there.
No, Northern Nation, right? Let's go to Mark 7. We're going to start at verse 1. Mark 7 and 1. We're going to speak of the tradition of men. Mark 7 and 1. Then came together unto him the Pharisees and certain of the scribes which came from Jerusalem. And when they saw some of his disciples eat bread and with defiled, that is to say, with unwashed hands, they found fault. For the Pharisees and all the Jews, except they wash their hands off, eat not, holding the tradition of the elders. Verse 4. And when they come from the market, except they wash, they eat not. And many other things that there be, which they have received to hold, as the washing of cups and pots, brazen vessels, and of tables. Verse 5. Then the Pharisees and scribes asked him, Why walk not thy disciples according to the tradition of the elders, but eat bread with unwashed hands? Verse 6. He answered and said unto them, Well, hath Elias prophesied of you hypocrites, as it is written, This people honoreth me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. Verse 7. Howbeit in vain do they worship me, teaching the doctrines, the commandments of men. For laying aside the commandment of God, ye hold the tradition of men, as Yeshaya don't know what he's saying. But I guarantee you, we don't know what Yeshaya is saying right now. Because we're doing the very same thing, holding the doctrines and the commandments of men versus what Yeshaya said. Verse 9. Wait. Yes, verse 9. And he said unto them, Full well ye reject the commandments of God, that ye may keep your own tradition. That's going on today. That's going on now. Verse 10. For Moses said, Honor thy father and thy mother, and whoso curseth father and or mother, let him die the death. But ye say, if a man shall say to his father or mother, it is Corban, that is to say, a gift, by whatsoever thou mightest be profited by me, he shall be free. and ye suffer him no more to do aught for his father or his mother. The Bible says, spare the rod, spoil the child. But yet and still, you have these psychologists. Well, you really should not spank your child because it produces this and it does that, and the child can be this and that and those things and others. And people say, well, yeah, that's true. So they put little Billy in timeout. And little Billy is sitting in a corner,
Thinking about
killing flies, killing spiders. He's in the corner, killing things. Little Billy is sitting in the corner.
Flies and spiders.
And little Billy is saying, you know what? I understand. If I sit here for 15 minutes, I can get up and do whatever I want to do again. And it progresses. And it gets worse. The attitude of the child becomes so unbearable that the parents can't handle him.
They end up hating their child.
Can't handle him. Can't handle her. The child is doing whatever. The child is ruling the house.
You know, it's a true story.
Well, before you get to your true story, let me finish.
Okay.
Verse 13, making the word of God of none effect through your tradition, which ye have delivered, and such like things ye do. And when he had called all the people unto him, he said unto them, hearken unto me, every one of you, and understand. Yes, what you about to say?
So before I say the true story, ARW said in New York, they are taking sheepskin coats and gold chains and adder sneakers and would shoot you on the spot.
Yes, I do remember the sheepskin coats.
What that even?
The chains. Yeah, they used to snatch chain in Chicago. When you were on like the public train, they would see who sits close to the exit. They would grab the chain, jerk it off, and run off the train right before the doors closed.
Or if you sat by the window, the old trains, the windows used to raise up. So if the window was up there, reach in and snatch your chain.
Mm-hmm. Right. So then people started getting wise because that was something that was going
on
crazy.
The news and everything.
So people would start wearing it underneath their shirt and tuck it down. Mm-hmm. But if they saw a glimmer of it, they were going to snatch it.
Oh, I was going to say true story. Mm-hmm. So my cousin had her best friend. The best friend ended up having 3 children. These were some bad kids. They fought the mother. Of course, the fathers wasn't around. This woman's children was so bad. She called CPS herself, mm-hmm. on herself, and told them to come get her children. Mm-hmm. I said, I had never heard of that. I know you remember that mm-hmm. girl. She called CPS and said, you need to come get them because I'm mm-hmm. going to kill them. Mm-hmm. Guess what they did? They told her no.
Right.
They wouldn't even come get them.
Right.
So I think they they kept doing some stuff, and some of them end up in juvenile detention. Mm-hmm. And because she put them out, she couldn't deal with them.
Couldn't deal with them.
Nope. She called CPS on herself. But mm-hmm. now she wasn't abusing them, they was abusing her. So she called CPS to get them out of her house.
Mm-hmm. And that's something because, CPS, what's known about CPS was not known about CPS then. What's known about them now as being the leaders of child trafficking, sex trafficking. That wasn't known about them back then, even though they were doing it back then. All right, so we choose to believe what Yeshaya is saying through the tradition of men. You choose to believe man instead of believing the one who put you here in the first place. You listen and you hold on what man says.
This is something I haven't heard since we've been in the truth. Christianity. Oh, pastor, preacher, nice service.
Message a couple of months ago, right?
Who
Yeah,
taught
we
it?
did. Farm Yasharala. Wasn't that a feel-good message?
We understand on this side that we must get delivered and get cleansed
Right.
of things. So all that is being taught, thus said the Lord, is good.
Right. So what's happened is that we believe man more than we believe Yeshua. And don't sit there and say, well, that's not me. Because everybody, even the ones in this room, have sat here and accepted what they said versus what the Bible says.
And
it's out of ignorance.
Oh, I ain't gonna say that then. I was gonna say, yeah, I just did that, but when you said
No,
ignorant, I was like,
it
I ain't gonna
is.
say
That's
that.
out of ignorance.
I know, because I'm gonna tell you something. So the doctor months ago told me I had type 2 diabetes.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that, I mean, come on, mother gives me a lot of wisdom. So I knew it wasn't because of sugar, it was because I knew what it was because, and mother had showed me how to use herbs and things to get rid of it. But the herbs and everything was not working, I thought, fast enough, and I'm testing my blood sugar.
Right.
Stop pricking your finger, checking that blood. He was like, you got to stop with the doubt and unbelief. I have already healed you. So the medicine that the doctor assured me was safe, I took it for a couple of days and I didn't take it. I took it, my stomach was hurt. It made me sicker. Come to find out, the medicine, I forgot the name of it. The medicine that the doctor have gave me was people was having liver and kidney failure. So I'm like, I'm taking this, I'm doing the herbs, I'm doing this. And I was like, okay, wait a minute. Yeshua was like, I have healed you. Whose report do you believe? I have already healed you, daughter. Why are you going backward and forth with all this? And I'm going to tell you something. I was like, man, I was tricked. Right. So you can never get so much of wisdom and so far in the truth that you can't be tricked. So you have to be wise. You got to be alert at all times.
Alert at all times.
But because I fell for the lie, I was up and down. I was having symptoms that weren't even there. Like, it was crazy. And I said, okay, Yeshua told me I'm healed. Stop checking my blood sugar level, pricking my finger. And I'm telling you, I believe he told me I was healed. I believe, I trust that I'm healed. I haven't had no symptoms of diabetes, whatever that mess was. It was a lie. That's what it was.
Right.
And so, yes, I was bamboozled.
So choose to believe what man is saying. Yeah. Choose to believe what's on the website versus what Yeshua is saying. We'll talk about shrimp, pork, and catfish. Oh, well.
Catfish.
All right. Leviticus 14 and Deuteronomy, Leviticus 11 and Deuteronomy 14, right? Unclean. On the earth, unclean beasts. The beasts that do not both chew the cud and have cloven hooves. Pig, hare, camels, mouse, frog, moles, lizards, tortoise, snails. You're not supposed to eat those, right? In the water, unclean animals, all those that do not have both fins and scales. Shellfish, lobsters, crayfish, crabs, shrimp, oysters, all of those you're not supposed to eat. And in the air, unclean. Eagles, vultures, buzzards, kites, falcons, ravens, ostrich, seagulls, owls, hawks, storks, herons, um, bats, vultures. You're not supposed to eat those. Everything that creepeth, that flies, meaning bees, flies, things like that. You're not supposed to eat. Leviticus 11:7-9 says, and the swine, though he divided the hoof and be cloven footed, yet he cheweth not the cud, he is unclean to you. Right? Verse 8, of their flesh ye shall not eat, and their carcass ye shall not touch, they are unclean to you. These shall ye eat of all that are in the waters, whatsoever have fins and scales in the waters, and in the seas, and in the rivers, them ye shall eat. When you go over to Deuteronomy 14:2, thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy power, and the Lord hath chosen thee to be a peculiar people unto himself above all the nations that are upon the earth. But our stubbornness is leading us down a path of destruction. And we're doing it ourselves because we won't even listen to science and why these foods are made so bad for us to eat. Yeshua, who gave us such a life-saving law as the dietary law. Life-saving. But we're so stubborn because we want to eat like the other people eat. Pork. Pork, first of all, the problem, and we have a lesson also about pork alone. We're going to have a lesson about pork alone probably in August. Swine flu, that's what's in pork, right? Trichinosis. Pigs that carry it's a parasite in their body and the meat. And one biggest concern is eating pork is trichinosis or trichonellosis. It's a parasite. Increased cancer risk from bacon and other processed pork. So you have an increase of cancer from meats like ham, bacon, and sausage from the pigs, and it causes cancer. Pigs harbor common viruses and parasites. Tapeworms, HEV, PRRS, Nipah virus, meningivirus, and many more viruses that the pigs have. And people think, well, I cook the food and I don't eat it. It does not matter. It's in the meat. The pig problematic digestive system. Since the pig's digestive system operates rather basically, many of these toxins remain in its system and is stored in their adequate fatty tissues, which is ready for consumption. So the fat part, and even if you trim the meat, there's still a little remaining fat there. And that fat is harboring the toxins. And what happens is that when you cook it, that fat, that toxin gets into the grease. That's why they would always tell you when we were heathens that you don't cook in that pork grease. That pork grease, if you leave it out, it's toxic. But little do they know that while you're cooking, it's toxic. Don't want to get too much on pork because we got a whole lesson on that one. It's going to shock you. What about shrimp? Right? Why is shrimp so wrong? Because first of all, it's out of the sea. It doesn't have fish. It doesn't have fins, or it doesn't have scales. Right? Poop cocktail. During cleaning, shrimp's legs are torn off and they are decapitated and disemboweled. As their bowels are being ripped out, poop spills out and gets all over the shrimp itself. So you got shrimp poop on the shrimp itself, and they try to wash it off as much as possible. But remnants of that, it's kind of like we used to watch the crime shows, right? And the person would murder somebody, and then they would get bleach and clean it all up. But then somebody comes in with a blue light, and they see all the residue that's all the blood that's there that's stained. So no matter how good you clean the shrimp, it's still stained with poop. Not to mention that it doesn't have fins or scales, so you shouldn't eat it anyway. Extra skin. This is one I didn't know. Shrimp are our new shrimp are bottom dwellers that feed on parasites and the skin that they pick off of dead animals. This means that every mouthful of scampi that you come across is digested parasites and dead skin from other animals in the sea. Toxic jambalaya. Most shrimp who are eaten come from places that have no restrictions on traces of illegal contaminants such as dioxins, PCBs, and other banned chemicals, or on pumping them full of hormones and antibiotics. Also, cholesterol bombs. This one I didn't know. With a whopping 152 milligrams of cholesterol per 100 gram serving, that's about 4 or 5 shrimp. 2 servings puts you over the daily recommended allowance of 300 milligrams of cholesterol. Why is cholesterol so important? Because it gives you heart attacks. High cholesterol blocks the blood, blocks the arteries in the body. And a person who has a high cholesterol level they're a walking candidate for heart disease. Charlotte was on to something when he was telling us about that. Also, oceans are treated like garbage dumps. The nets used to catch shrimp either end up on other animals or collect garbage in the oceans, but who is the bottom feeders? The shrimps. Catfish, right? Catfish is also a bottom feeder. And being a bottom feeder, of course we all know, it eats everything. It's a scavenger.
No, is that before you go, the cholesterol is that when people, no, we were going through deliverance still. Mother had told me to get some bergamot essential oil, and I got some bergamot and the essential oil, and I put it in our room with the door closed. And we went to sleep or whatever. In the middle of the night, I woke up throwing up nothing but oil. And it was like this cup of kind of oil. It was a lot. It was everywhere. Now I said, if that stuff would have stayed in me,
it would have clogged your arteries.
Because guess what? Years prior to that, even when we were as Christians, we ate pork, didn't we?
Yeah. Pork, catfish, shrimp,
rib tips.
Yep.
Bacon, we did.
It wasn't until we got into the truth.
The dietary law.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't until we got into the truth and we found out about the dietary law, because Christianity doesn't teach it. They say you can pray over your food and it's fine.
And we had to throw, at that time in the refrigerator, we had a pork roast, we had pork chop.
Yeah, we had food that we had to throw
it away. Yeah.
All right. Number 2, you dredge it and fry it. So Catfish is a problem because it's a bottom feeder. It's full of toxins and carcinogens, and those stay in the fish. They don't leave because catfish don't have fins.
Now, I don't know about
I mean, they
other.
don't have scales because the toxins that are in the fish,
Mhm.
how they get rid of the toxins is it passes through the scales and pass through. Catfish is basically a swimming pig.
They have menstrual cycles. I don't know if all fish have them, but I know a catfish does.
I don't know.
Catfish
would
has
think
a
they
cycle
do.
like a woman.
If there's a female animal, I'm sure it probably does. Like cows, I'm sure they have menstrual cycles.
I don't know. I just know catfish does.
Right? Mercury. High levels of dangerous mercury is found in catfish. And when you cook the catfish, the mercury sets off. Toxins. Most catfish, they are not particular about what they eat. So farm-raised catfish is probably the worst of them all because what they do is in order to feed them their appetites and to make them big so they can be profitable, they take the waste from other fish farms and they dump it into the catfish farms. That includes pesticides, drugs, and chemicals. Too much, yes.
Do you think our people was eating this before they came over to the Americas?
No, and we're going to show you something why.
Oh.
Right? There's too much information about these foods that they will lead you to an early grave. But some of us put hot sauce on it or put Cajun season on it until your lips start to ache and burn because you put so much Cajun and so much hot sauce on your food.
Ranch.
There's nothing wrong with eating food. However, Yeshua created abominations. And the abominations he created back in Leviticus 11 are the same abominations today. But our people still eat of it. Right? The Lord said not for us to eat those things, but did we listen? Nope, we didn't. And we died faster than normal because we did not listen. What else gives us a slave mind? Homosexuality or LGBT. You think of these things are bad in the day of Sodom and Egypt. We all know that Egypt dealt with homosexuality very big.
Mm-hmm.
Sodom, very big. Moses and Paul talked about us doing this abomination act, but yet we were so rebellious and our lust was so above what Yeshua planned for us. Romans 1. Yeah. But probably, no. No, you know what? I have over everything. Something. Yeah.
Lemon in it.
Yeah. No, it is. I already eliminated. Romans 1, we're going to read 25 to 32. Who changed the truth of God into a lie? And worship and serve the creature more than the Creator, who is blessed forever. Amen. For this cause God gave them into vile affections. For even their women did change the natural use into that which is against nature. You see our sisters today, and if you call them sisters, they will probably fight you. And they look like men. And likewise, also the men, leaving the natural use of the woman, burned in their lust toward one another men with men working that which is unseemly, and receiving in themselves the recompense of their error, which was meat. Men. And the 12 tribes really has this one. Right, Romans 1. The 12 tribes really got this one bad. Verse 28. And even as they did not like to retain God in their knowledge, God gave them over to a reprobate mind to do those things which are not convenient, being filled with unrighteousness, fornication, wickedness, covetousness, maliciousness, full of envy, murder, debate, deceit, malignity, whisperers, backbiters, haters of God, despiteful, proud, boasters, invention of evil things, disobedient to parents. Now, we did a teaching on the homosexual agenda, which was taken off of YouTube because I guess it taught hate, even though it wasn't teaching hate. It was basically telling them, those homosexuals and lesbians, they need to stop or they're going to go to hell. And we went through each and every one of these demons and showed how the homosexual was involved in each and every one of these evil spirits.
Every last one of them. Every last one of them.
And YouTube took it down. Verse 31, without understanding, covenant breakers, without natural affection, implacable, unmerciful, who, knowing the judgment of God, that they which commit such things are worthy of death. Not only do the same, but have pleasure in them that do them. Worthy of death. And that's in the New Testament, after Yeshua. 1 Corinthians 6:9 says, know ye not that the unrighteous shall not inherit the kingdom of God. Be not deceived. Neither fornicators, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor effeminate, nor abusers of themselves with mankind. So those people will not receive the kingdom. If you are a fornicator, no. Idolater, no. Adulterer, no. Effeminate, no. Abusers of themselves, no. You won't receive it. But yet and still, this is hate speech, because those same homosexuals think that they have civil rights. As far as Yeshua goes, you don't have any rights but to go to hell. We lead every detrimental category imaginable. We, as in the 12 tribes, and that's all thanks to America. And the do as thy wilt. Yeshua never changed his view on this wicked matter as, oh, it's just a matter of fact. He never changed his viewpoint on this. It's always been that way. And he will never change his viewpoint on it, no matter how much they try to spin it with their corrupt and wicked and evil Bibles. But we follow along with it. You even got them dancing in the church. Abominations. They're even dancing in the church. Leviticus 20. And it's deplorable. Our men switching, throwing their hands up. And first of all, let me say this. Gay men, They think they're acting like women, but women don't even act like that.
No, we don't.
Women doesn't even act like that.
It's a demon. It's a spirit.
Leviticus 20 and 10. The Bible says, and the man that committeth adultery with another man's wife, even he that committeth adultery with his neighbor's wife, the adulterer and the adulteress shall surely be put to death. Judah, Benjamin, Levi, Manasseh. What do? You're the leading cause of this one. Verse 11. And a man that lieth with his father's wife hath uncovered his father's nakedness. Both of them shall surely be put to death. Their blood shall be upon them. Now, if this was created back in Noah's time, Ham would be put to death. Verse 12. And if a man lie with his daughter-in-law, both of them shall surely be put to death. They have wrought confusion. Their blood shall be upon them. I agree 100%. Put them all to death. Verse 13. If a man also lie with mankind as he would lie with a woman, both of them had committed an abomination, they shall surely be put to death. Their blood shall be upon them. The reason why this is like this is because sin spreads. Sin spreads. So you got to stop the spreading. How do you stop the spreading? You get rid of the sinners. Verse 14. If a man take a wife and her mother, it is wickedness. They shall be burnt with fire, both he and they, that there be no wickedness among you. That, I can't even fathom that one. A man take his wife and her mother. I don't under that. Verse 15. If a man lie with a beast, he shall surely be put to death, and ye shall slay the beast. If a woman approach unto any beast and lie down thereunto, thou shalt kill the woman and the beast. They shall surely be put to death, their blood shall be upon them. Now we look at that and say, well, you know what? That's Esau's doing. Esau lay with animals and do that. We knew, well, I'm just going to say this. There's times that we know that certain people have laid with beasts.
We had to pray.
And we had to pray the what is this, bestiality spirit out of them. So it's not, oh, that's an Esau thing. No, it's not. It's a 12 tribes thing also. Deuteronomy 28 and 61 says, also every sickness and every plague which is not written in the book of this law, them will the Lord bring upon thee until thou be destroyed. So you want to know why we lead in AIDS, STDs, and now we're leading in COVID diseases? Deuteronomy 28:61 tells you. And they say, oh, it's a race thing. They're being racist, saying that all these people get COVID. That's not racist. That's Yeshua saying, you know what? I have told you. He says, every sickness, every plague, it's on us.
ARW said,
Yes.
Aleister Crowley, his famous quote, do as I will, wicked demon. Yes, I said it's demon founded and order called the Golden Dawn.
I agree with 100%. Aleister Crowley was a walking demon. and his seeds are walking demons.
You know who his granddaughter is.
Yes, we do know who his granddaughter is.
She's still alive?
She's a seed. I don't think she's still alive. I think she's burning in hell. I don't think she's alive.
George Bush's wife.
I think she's dead.
Did she die?
But her son is still alive.
Wow.
Demons. What about the spirit of murder? These are attributable to P.T. access of time. It came to pass that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto the Lord. Excuse me. An offering unto the Lord. Both Cain and Abel were able to bring sacrifices to the Lord, right? Cain brought some veggies, and Abel brought the first fruits of his lambs. Yeshua was upset with Cain for not doing the right thing like he instructed. That was rebellion. So he retaliated and killed his brother. We have forgotten that all we got here together, we got here all together on the same boats. We picked from the same cotton fields. We picked from the same tobacco fields. We picked out of the same rice fields. We turn an evil eye at our brothers, at our own brothers and sisters, like we have the same father and mother like us, and kill them. Yeshua has laws against murder, for instance, like the Ten Commandments, but what about gangster rap music and other forms of entertainment that push the spirit of Cain on our people? Mm-hmm. What about that? Instead of us coming together and uniting under the covenant of Yeshua, not coming united under Esau's programs, meaning Black Lives Matter and all the rest of it, NAACP. Instead of us coming together under the covenant of Yeshua, we would rather kill and destroy each other. We have forgotten how to be our brother's keeper. Mm-hmm. And we become our worst enemy. We've forgotten how to be our brother's keeper. The other nations, because in the Ten Commandments, there's not one that says thou shalt not rape, but rape is under the same as murder.
What do you do to someone's spirit?
You kill it.
You rape them, yeah. Violent act.
Another example of the spirit of murder. Let's go second. Everybody turn First Kings chapter 21.
You know, I want to say this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I end up watching it, but I watched the movie Django. And I'm watching it, and I'm seeing the different artifacts or the art that's on the wall in the movies, mm-hmm. and the statues. And they all are statues of white men, but they're naked, and they all like got their legs open on each other, like it's promoting homosexuality. The two Judah men on the floor fighting until one killed the other one. Now this is supposed to be entertainment. Mm-hmm. The master there, he has all these black women around him, and they're sitting up eating, the red crawfish. So that's unclean. Mm-hmm. And then you have the one that plays Samuel L. Jackson character. He's just beyond what a house nigger is. He's like the guy so they came to get the girl or whatever. Yeah. Now them niggas in there, I'm telling you, they after that girl. Like, he just told on his, like he just sold the black people under the
Mm-hmm.
bus. You know what I mean? And then the white guy, the master, ended up getting shot. He ran, oh, like it was his father or somebody, I don't know. But he
Mm-hmm.
was so hurt that this black man, I mean, this white guy had got shot. And then in the end, the name of the place was Candyland. I guess what is it called? The plantation. And he told the Jamie Foxx, well, you can't take, you'll never be able to destroy Candyland. He was like talking stuff like it was his property, like it
Mm-hmm.
belonged to him.
Mm-hmm.
But nothing belonged to him. They treated him like trash too.
Mm-hmm.
But earlier you talked about how the captive will protect
Mm-hmm.
their master or whatever, whoever the person
Mm-hmm.
that's over them. Fun of us.
They've always made fun of
They're
us.
making fun of us. They're eating unclean things. They having our people, two men on the floor fighting to the death. One of the men was thrown to the dogs and ate up by dogs. They are making fun of us.
But what that movie also is showing is what really happened. That stuff really happens.
Yeah, it
And we're
is.
going to show some things that really happened.
But that is not entertainment.
No, it's not entertainment. It's, well, you know what? Let's go on. Yeah, that's not
It's
entertainment at
just
all.
sad. That's what I'm saying. It's just.
First Kings 21, verse 1. And it came to pass after these things that Naboth the Jezreelite had a vineyard, which was in sorry. Let's start that over. First Kings 21 and 1. And it came to pass that after these things that Naboth the Jezreelite had a vineyard, which was in Jezreel, hard by the palace of Ahab king of Samaria. And Ahab spake to Naboth, saying, give me thy vineyard, that I may have it for a garden of herbs, because it is near unto my house, and I will give thee for it a better vineyard than it, or if it seem good to thee, I will give thee the worth of it in money. Now, give up your inheritance. Let me finish the verse. Verse 3. And Naboth said to Ahab, the Lord forbid heavy and displeased, because the word which Naboth the Jezreelite had spoken to him, for he had said that I will not give thee the inheritance of my fathers. And he laid him down upon his bed and turned away his face, that he would eat no bread. But Jezebel his wife came to him and said unto him, why is thy spirit so sad, that thou eatest no bread? And he said unto her, because I spake unto Naboth the Jezreelite, and he said and said unto him, give me thy vineyard for money, or else, if it please thee, I will give thee another vineyard for it. And he answered, I will not give thee any my vineyard. And Jezebel his wife said unto him, dost thou now govern the kingdom of Israel? Arise and eat bread, and let thine heart be merry. I will give thee the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite. Now, a couple of things in this that we're going to really go over really quick. First of all, he refused to give up his inheritance. He refused to give up his heritage for Ahab. He refused. Jezebel and Ahab plotted to get the vineyard and help him and his wife. Now, Jezebel and Ahab had riches and much, much more.
Mm-hmm.
This was a brother who just wanted what his brother had, even though the law forbid it. Ahab wanted what Naboth had. Stiff-necked, selfish, murderous goals. They were all in this man's soul and in Jezebel. You can read the rest of the chapter. But it's murder. And we were speaking earlier about murdering each other for jackets and shoes. It's been going on since the Bible times. But now it's much more prevalent because we have such a slave mentality mind. Covetousness. Exodus 20:17, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. Covetousness. And when you see covetousness, you have to stop it because it produces jealousy.
That's what it is. Yeah.
It produces jealousy. That goes on. Now, someone is jealous because somebody has something, material things, or somebody is getting praise and you're not getting praise. Let's go to 1 Maccabees, the 5th chapter. They like mine. Somebody's getting praise, you're not getting praise, so you know what? You're going to do something. Well, let's look at 1 Maccabees, the 5th chapter, and let's see the end result of covetousness or jealousy. 1 Maccabees, chapter 5, we're going to read verses 55 to 57. First Maccabees 5, 55 to 57. All right. Now, what time as Judas and Jonathan were in the land of Gilead, and Simeon, his brother, in Galilee before Ptolemais. Verse 56. Joseph, the son of Zacharias, and Arius, captains of the garrison, heard of the valiant acts and warlike deeds which they had done. Listen to what they say. Verse 57. Wherefore they said, let us also get us a name and go fight against the heathen that are round about us. So these brothers saw Judas and Jonathan were doing for the Lord, winning great battles, meaning many battles, and they got jealous. And they had covetousness over the fame and glory that the Lord was placing on them. And instead of being happy for the nation, they went up and against the order of Judas, because you got to read later on, they went against the order of Judas, and they tried to take a stronghold. And they, because of their envy, because of their covetousness, because of their jealousy, 2,000 men were killed. They wanted glory and notoriety so badly that it caused them to be destroyed. This goes on today. Even today, this goes on. Remember that movie Juice? Maybe you all don't.
With two
young people, right?
Yeah.
Remember that movie Juice?
You got the juice now. Yeah.
That's what they wanted. It was talking about notoriety. You, the popular one now. right? But these two men wanted to be popular, like Jonathan and Judas. Jonathan and Judas Maccabees were being led by Yeshua. So if Jonathan and Judas Maccabee were being led by Yeshua, these two men were being led by the devil. Because they said, let us also get us a name. That's what we say, Judah, Benjamin, Levi, all the 12 tribes. That's what we say now. When something's going good in a person's life, let me get that same notoriety. And you end up killing people, or you end up killing yourself, spiritually, physically. They wanted glory. They wanted notoriety so badly that they got destroyed. When we first got off the boats, we were not like this, but we were taught this behavior. You were taught covetousness. You were taught jealousy. You were taught envy. You were taught pride. You were taught this.
Put the light-skinned folks in the...
We got something on that later. You were taught this. Most brothers and sisters in the hood want to be in a better place so bad that they see their brothers with new items, Jordan shoes, and they kill them for it. Ecclesiasticus 10:9 says, why is earth and ashes proud? There is not a more wicked thing than a covetous man. For such an one setteth his own soul to sale. Because while he liveth, he casteth away his vows. Let's all turn to Ecclesiasticus 14. All right, we're going to start at verse 6. Leviticus 14, 6 through 12. There is none worse than he that envieth himself, and this is a recompense of his wickedness. And if he doeth good, he doeth it unwillingly. And at the last, he will declare his wickedness. Once again, post-traumatic slave disorder. I'm going to do this so I could look good in masses' eyes. Verse 8, the envious man hath a wicked eye. He turneth away his face and despiseth men. A covetous man eye is not satisfied with his portion, and the iniquity of the wicked drieth up his soul. And he is a niggard at his table.
Who?
Niggard. Verse 11. My son, according to thy ability, do good to thyself and give the Lord his due offering. Remember that death will not be long in coming, and at the covenant of the grave is not shewed unto thee. What is it saying? It's saying that we cannot be envious towards when someone is doing right or when somebody is being blessed. We should be happy for them and not say, what about me?
What, should their blessing be our blessing?
Yes.
Like, we should be happy. We should feel blessed that
another person gets blessed.
Blessed, yes.
Nope, not when it comes to covetousness, not when it comes to envy. It doesn't happen that way. Our people will look and say, if I ain't got it, I'll take it. Instead of, I'm going to get my act together to see if I can get praise from Yeshua, see if he can help me out.
But I'm gonna tell you something. Yeshaya's ministry, it's rewarding. I feel like the New Jerusalem,
Mm-hmm.
but this ministry is not glitz and glamour.
Right?
Maybe in Christianity, because you're dealing with true things and demons and people and sin, so you're constantly ministering, fighting, and praying, and you don't get to lay down and go to sleep. You can't take a day off. You can't take a time out.
Right.
Because even if you're going through something, Yeshua will quickly say, go do this. Go.
Mm-hmm.
That's when it seemed like he would have you the busiest.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not, it's why would you want to be doing something to be getting praised for it when, I mean, it's not real. You're doing it just to be doing it so somebody
Right.
to look good.
And that's what the scripture is saying, right?
When we were in Christianity and we was in ministry, remember, we dressed up, we had expensive clothes, and
Mm-hmm.
I had my hair all whipped up, I had makeup on, and the same way I went in, I came out. I was still looking good, so I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Then we got into healing and deliverance. We started going to that. It's not about that. I had to put on the full armor. I had to put on my fighting clothes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we used to say the take off the earrings and give me my gym shoes and the Vaseline.
Right.
It's one of those type of fights.
Mm-hmm.
There's no glitz and glamour in this.
No.
Because not only are you trying to help people, the devil is attacking
Success.
I got that almost every day for 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm. There's some things I want to this day, but I will not envy or covet or kill or harm anybody to get it. I will not do it. If Yeshua gives it, I will gladly accept it because I'm not that. The heathen do this, not someone who's truly Israel. Joshua 6:27 says, so the Lord was, you cannot deny that these traits are on us. Same thing happened today. Now Yeshua was upset, and the nation of Israel went to battle, and they got stomped. Literally.
You know, I did that with the wedding ring. I always wanted. Remember, I always wanted the biggest diamond. I always put that pressure on you, and I knew it was pressure.
Some
Yeah.
wickedness. So we got stomped, and then Joshua asked Yeshua, why did you allow us to get beat? And that's when it was revealed what Achan did.
Mm-hmm.
This example can only be seen by businesses owned by blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Usually they lack in unity and they destroy business from within due to covetousness intent. You own that record store right there? Okay, I'm going to see how I can burn that down because I want a bigger record store. Yeshua ain't rolling with sinners. This is why keeping the laws was so important, because the behaviors of not keeping the laws and the behaviors of not operating in the Bible is the same behaviors that we're doing today. If we see one of our brethren doing good or doing what's right,